Welcome back, explorers, to Red Hawk Adventures. We're currently on a journey of getting a new motorcycle, and in the previous episode we talked about some of the gear that I picked up. In this one we're going to get the Sena 50R installed into our helmet. I chose a little bit slimmer profile communication device, and I've heard the Senas are pretty good. So let's go ahead and dive into that install. Alright guys, we got our helmet here and our Sena 50R. So I figured let's go ahead and start by getting the helmet prepared a little bit to get things installed. So first thing we're going to do is just remove the chin guard here. Should pop right out. And we're going to remove the visor because that's just going to kind of get in the way and we don't need it to get scratched up in any manner. All right, and then I did get this nice helmet donut here. And this should help us kind of protect it while we're working on it on the table. Next, we have the cheek pads. Let's go ahead and get those out because we're going to kind of need them out for installing the speakers and running the wires. Now, the HAC, just in case you guys are curious, has these little pull tabs that come out. They're kind of hard to get out by hand, but they do pop out sometimes when you get the cheek pads off. Just be wary of that. They may stick into the clip. Actually, it sounds like that one did. Where's the last one? Yep, just like that. So that one came off. All you really got to do is snap it off here, and then it will go ahead and just slide right back in. Very simple. Those are meant for the emergency pull tabs on the side of the cheek pads to help get those off. Next, let's go ahead and get the inside liner out. Let's see. I believe it should just kind of slide out of here. There we go. Yeah, there's some clips right at the front here. You just kind of got to work them out. All right, and with that, your liner should come out. And there we go. There's our empty helmet. I do have this attached. I figured it would be kind of easier to keep it out of the way. But that should make it easy for us to get the Sena installed. One thing I did notice with this when I was looking through it is that this helmet does have these little pads here. And this right here is where the speakers are going to install into the side of the helmet. So let's just get these pads off. We're not going to need them. All right, now we got our helmet all properly set up. Let's go ahead and dive into the Sena 50R. So I already have gone through this a little bit in order to kind of get a better idea, see the kind of cables that we need, and figure that out a little bit. So here we go. One of my favorite things is the presentation here with the Sena right on top. It makes it kind of nice. There we go. So yeah, it comes in this little foam pad. We got all our cables and stuff down here. So the one thing about the Sena 50 is it is attached with the cable here. So once you kind of get it mounted onto the side of the helmet, it's not really meant to be removed like the S. The S will allow you to pull it off the dock and off the side of your helmet. Then you only have your speakers and the mic still there. This one, there is no easy way to do that. You have to remove the clip and unplug all these before you can get the unit out. So just keep that in mind if you are deciding between the 50R or S. That is probably the biggest difference. The other one, of course, is the button interface. And right there is our antenna. So we'll put this aside for right now as we don't need that just yet. Leave the last box in here is all the manuals and stuff. We don't need those quite yet. Next, it comes with all these cables and everything here. There's some foam pads for the speakers to push them out further. A little bit of wind socks for the mics. Also some Velcro pads you can put into the helmet. This helmet, as we saw, already has some, so we don't have to worry about that. This does come with the Velcro, so you can actually like remove it off the side of the helmet. But I don't quite understand that because it's still attached with the cables, so I don't really get the point. The other in here, I believe, is the adhesive to get the Sena attached, so we'll need that later. This is the actual mount. So this is the clip that's going to go inside on the side of the helmet, and we're going to attach the Sena to this. So this clip will go right up into the side of the helmet. So we'll get into that in a little bit. This is one of the mics. It's a little bit smaller, easier to mount into the helmets. And then this one is the more boom mic. This is meant for modular helmets or 3/4 helmets. That way when you lift up the visor or it's just open, you have this in a good place. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. Depending on which one it fits, I might just use this one so it's less intrusive. These are our speakers. So one of the things with the 50 is that they upgraded the speakers. So these ones are supposed to be a little bit louder. I've heard some people who've had the 30s or 20s say that they're pretty quiet. So these ones are supposed to increase that volume quite a bit. Lastly, this, I believe, is the Wi-Fi adapter. So one of the things that you've had to do with the Sena is to upgrade them. You have to plug them into the computer in order to do firmware upgrades. This is a Wi-Fi adapter. This allows you to plug the Sena directly into this unit, and this unit will update it over your Wi-Fi connection without having to do any software installs, plugging it into the computer. I've heard mixed things about this, so we're going to go ahead and try to get it set up and see how well it works. But for now, we can put this aside and test it out later. So with everything here, let's go ahead and get this cleaned up a little bit and ready to install. All right, so I think we got everything we need now. So let's figure out the placement that we're going to put the Sena onto the side of the helmet. I think the left side makes the most sense. And I believe that is how the Sena is meant to go onto the helmet, is on the left side. Mostly so if you have to use the unit, you don't have to take your hand off the throttle or anything like that. I went ahead and removed the sticker here that talked about just strapping in the helmet to secure it. Hopefully everyone remembers how to do that, so I'm not worried about it. I am going to keep the emergency use only on the side, just in case there's someone that doesn't know. That's a little reminder of how to pull out the straps for safety. Worst case, if I can't say anything, they'll be able to. All right, so with this, there's some like rubber, slightly sticky pads that should hold on to it. And so all we got to do is slide this into the helmet. I'm going to keep this plastic on until we're kind of ready for it. It should, hopefully, just go up in the side of the helmet as far as possible. Just hoping that there's not anything in the way to allow this in there. Okay, with a little bit of work, we did get this into the side of the unit. One thing I did notice is it does really push out this pad a lot from the side. Hopefully that's not too bad when it comes to our comfort. As you can see here, it definitely widened that gap quite a bit. So we'll have to see how that feels. If we take the unit and put it on right here, that's about what it's going to look like on the side. So not huge. Hopefully it won't be too noticeable. With some of these cuts in it, I think it will be pretty light and not the most noticeable of all things. So there we go. I'm not going to adhere to it just yet because we want to figure out these straps and how they're going to go around inside the helmet. So with that, let's go ahead and get the speakers installed. Oh, it helps if I know where I put them. Neither one of these matter which side. They're the same speaker. They have the same length. The only difference is with the Sena unit itself, it has a left and right channel. So that's going to be what makes the bigger change. Okay, so one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of extra lead here, and I'm going to try to tape it to the back so that it hopefully doesn't interfere with any of the air channels and vents. We got one here. There's one back here, so I want to try to run it below. I think that would make the most sense. So I'm going to use a little bit of electrical tape to hopefully keep that in place, not have to worry too much about things moving around. So let's get right back into it. I decided at this point it might be best just to get the Sena adhered to the clip here. That way we can get the wires lined up exactly how we need to. So with that, let's check out. Here we have, looks like we actually got two. So I believe this should go on the Sena first. Yes, so that way it does not cover the sticker that has your serial number and everything on it. So once we get that installed on there, that should actually hold it pretty tight. So I'm going to grab a heat gun and warm this up a little bit to help it adhere a little bit better. All right, just a quick reminder, if you're going to use a heat gun, make sure that you don't heat it up too much because you don't want to ruin any of the stuff. You just want to warm up the adhesive enough to get it to adhere a little bit better and mold a little bit better to the unit. Perfect fit, nice and warm too. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on this side, just to warm it up just enough to kind of get it to here slightly better. Should be enough. All right, that one took a little bit of coaxing to get off properly. Let's go ahead and get this in there perfectly. All right, looks like it adhered perfectly and lined up. That little notch there definitely helped quite a bit. All right, with that, we'll get back into installing the wires. All right, one thing to note when installing this, what I did is kind of push down the cable to allow for this to slide right through. That way it can come right back out on the other side. So all you got to do is kind of wedge that in between. And then this one will latch up on this helmet. So just keep that in mind. I know some people will cut a hole through this. I decided I didn't want to do that just because I don't want to mess the helmet up any more than I need to. But I think with this latch and this little tail that it has back there should hold it in place quite well. So I got the Sena set in. I kind of had to figure out a little bit of the channeling for the cables. So what I did here is for the right side, I decided to just not put any excess cable there. I used a little bit of electrical tape to adhere to the back of the helmet. That way this cable is going to just sit back behind the back pad on the helmet when I get that installed. Shouldn't really be any noticeable. And then I taped it again onto this side. That way it's taped behind. And then I decided that I should be able to just keep the wires here on this side here. I decided to put the mic up on the front side. It will sit right below the two soft pads of the cheek pad. So when it sits in there, it'll be nice and protected from the wind. Hopefully that will sound pretty good. And the cable kind of just sits down here and out of the way. Same with the main unit of the Sena cable. So that's going to kind of get tucked in there when I get things properly set up. The last little bit, these cables should lay pretty flat right here without causing too much interference with anything else. As long as I can latch these two buttons on this side, I think everything else will hold pretty true. Can I get any of them in? There, I got that one in. Try and make sure there's no cables or anything behind it. There we go. This one I want to try to get as much tucked below this button as possible. And that might be part of what's interfering with it. So maybe if I pull this one over this way. There we go. And then if I can get this tape back up there, I may have to pull a little bit of this out. There we go. That should keep that nice and loose. And so lastly, let's go ahead and get the headliner back installed. Man, sometimes getting those back in are a little bit harder than they should be. Lastly, we got the chin guard that should go up there just fine, but I think that will be good enough for now. If we look in here, you can kind of see the speakers right there on the sides. So I'm just going to put it on real quick for a quick fit in, make sure everything fits properly. I think looks pretty good. So that's pretty much the install for the Sena. So let's go ahead and get into setting it up with our phone and making sure that that whole side of things works out pretty well. All right, let's go ahead and get the pairing set up. I have the iPhone here. So what you're gonna need is the Sena 50 utility with the 50. They have different apps for each series, so make sure you get the correct one. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up here. So in order to get the unit on, you got to hit the plus and the center button to turn it on. It says hello, so there we go. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get into the pairing menu. In order to do that, you got to hold the center button down for 10 seconds until it says configuration. So let's do that real quick. It says intercom pairing. We got to keep holding it. Configuration menu. There we go. So we just hit the plus there. All right, so that means the phone's pairing. So now that we got the unit here, let's go ahead and hit set up new device. Make sure we select 50R. I'm not sure if that makes a difference, but The one thing I did notice is it doesn't change anything on here, which is really annoying, which I think it should tell you the instructions on how to do it, but there's an issue with this particular one. So let's go ahead and get over to the settings here. There we go, Sena 50R. It's got the firmware version number on there. It says connected. Oh, it's paired there, so. Oh, there we go. Pairing request. Let's go ahead and hit pair. We're going to change the name. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the version number since we don't need that. You're all set. Continue. Actually, let's see. Can I rename this? Let's just put Chris in front. That way, in case someone else has to pair, it may be a little easier to see that. So that was a little bit more painless than the last time I tried it. Last time it asked for so many different things while pairing, but it looks like it's set up now properly. So with that, we now have our unit, the timer remaining on it, the battery charge, and then a few of the other things that we can do in here as well. So we got the mesh intercom, which will allow us to connect with people over the mesh network. There's a way to do it private and open. And then there's Bluetooth pairing. So if you have someone close by with it on already, it should be able to pair pretty quickly with that. But yeah, next, let's go ahead and get into the Wi-Fi adapter. Let me get it plugged in here. It doesn't come with the brick, so you're going to have to get your own. Let's plug that in. And I believe there's the lights there. So we got the Wi-Fi update. Connect new device. Connect. Next. If you need a different Wi-Fi, hold down for 1 second. That must be it down there. So I think it's already connected. So let's go ahead and see if it shows up. There it goes. So yeah, I already got that set up. So in order to upgrade the headset, we got to power it off and plug it in. So let's go ahead and power it off real quick and see what it shows. All right, say goodbye. Get this untied. All right, so it looks like that means it's charging, it's connected to Wi-Fi, and does that mean it's doing a firmware update? I believe that's what that is. Yep, on updating firmware right now. So that was pretty quick and easy. So I don't know what it was I had last time, but it seems to be working pretty quickly. So that's pretty much it for everything I can do with the helmet right now. But let's get this wrapped up and we'll wrap up the video. All right, with the little testing, it sounds great. The call quality seems to be pretty good. The speakers are pretty loud, so I don't think you'll have any trouble hearing music or calls or anything like that when you're in the road. I'll have to really test it out when I get a chance to get on the back of the motorcycle and see how it sounds that way. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty good, pretty sleek, and overall a little bit of a process, but nothing too crazy. So with that, next up we got to get the GoPro on the front, which I will get in on the next video. So with that, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.